My name is Jordan Miller, and I'm a breaking news reporter at the Salt Lake Tribune. I studied journalism and political science with a minor in business at OU. I got interested in this field through a high school journalism program, and I also went to a journalism camp at Northwestern University over the summer one year while I was in high school, and I learned a lot about what journalism has to offer and how it can impact people. It took me 4 years to finish my degree program. I started in fall 2017 and ended May 2021. I haven't always really enjoyed taking photographs. At first, I did it in high school a little bit, but I was extremely bad at it. Like, I had my teacher set up the settings beforehand, and I just took my camera there, and I was like, well, hopefully I get some good ones, because I didn't really know how the settings worked. But whenever I was in college, the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to work for the student newspaper, the OU Daily. And I was like, well, I really want to start out learning something that I didn't really have much experience in before. And I had written for my school newspaper in high school, and I had taken some pictures, but I didn't feel like I was very good. So I started out as a photographer to kind of learn more. And whenever I started out as a photographer at the Daily, it gave me a lot of opportunities to kind of hone my photography skills and have a lot of different opportunities to go cover different events. Like, one of my favorite things that I did in college was I got to go to a Hozier concert. Hozier's like my favorite artist. And I got to do photography there. So I got to take a bunch of pictures of him like 2 feet away from him pretty much. And it was like one of my best college experiences. And the pictures turned out so great because it was like concert lighting, and it was super cool to edit later and things like that. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I had never kind of learned how a camera works and things like that. So I guess I really like it now, but at first I was a little dubious about it. So day to day, I'm more of I report way more than I do photography, because we just have really talented people who are like just photographers here at the Tribune. So basically, day to day, I have some enterprise stories that I'm usually working on, like regarding data and making information requests, things like that from government agencies to get more information on bigger stories that I'm working on. But I also keep an eye on social media to kind of keep track of different breaking news stories that could happen during the day. Like, for example, today there was one of the things that I covered was I saw that there was an arrest made of someone who was working at a troubled teen facility. And what I did was, whenever I saw that was happening, I went through and I went to Exchange, which is our court's website, and I got all the documents regarding that person's arrest and charges, things like that, wrote up a story based on what those documents said, and then I sent it to my editor. I also sent it to another reporter who's working on a bigger project regarding that topic, like troubled teen centers in Utah, to kind of double check everything, because I had referenced one of her stories in there. And they also take photos. Like today it was just a short story on an arrest, so nobody had to go out and take a photo for the assignment. But for another thing that I'm doing in a couple of weeks is there's this rare bird research tagging event, which I really like working with the Division of Wildlife Resources in Utah, because I really think animals here are really cool. And I love living in a place that has mountains, things like that. And I've put in a photo request for that, and they're going to come out with me and take some photos. But day to day, that's kind of what my job looks like. I make sure I'm on top of anything that's breaking during the day. And I also work on things in the background, like longer term stories with data requests, interviews, things like that. I think the biggest thing that helped me in my career was working at the OU Daily. In all of my internships, I had so much fun at all the internships that I did. I started the Daily before I even had my first day of classes. I enrolled and started going. I went to summer training, and it was really fun. I really enjoyed meeting other people who, I'm from Texas, so I didn't really, nobody from my college or from my high school went to OU, and so I liked meeting other people who had my same interests. And So I started at the Daily, and I started as a photographer, and I met some people, and I got kind of my footing here at OU there at OU to kind of understand what the big things were on campus to cover. And then I worked hard to become a photo editor. And after that, I was a news editor, and I worked my way up to editor-in-chief at OU Daily. And I think all the work that I did there, it was basically like, it was like having a full-time job and going to classes on top of it. Like sometimes I consider like my education was at the OU Daily, and like I went to class also, just because like I worked every day, and I do the stuff that I did the stuff that I do every day in my job every day at the OU Daily. And so I think that really prepared me to get where I am today. And so I felt comfortable doing things on internships, and I didn't have to have one of like where you get used to working at a place and learn all these different things. Like I felt comfortable slipping into new places. Like, of course, there's always going to be like where you learn what the big issues are at a different place that you're working at. But it was more, I guess you could say, streamlined. Like the Daily gave me so much experience in learning how to edit, learning how to take my own photos, learning how to cover breaking news situations, learning how to cover a lot of different really sad situations, that I feel comfortable covering a lot of things on my own, even as like my first year as a full-time reporter. Well, I did my high school newspaper, and I also did I did SPJ for a little bit in college up until I got really busy and I couldn't do it anymore. But I really enjoyed doing SPJ. I think that's one of the best things that you can do as a journalist whenever you're trying to I guess make connections and things like that and understand kind of a lot about ethics. And I guess this is not a club, but Dr. Craig taught an ethics class that I really enjoyed. I remember being an editor at the Daily, a lot of times I was just very concerned to make sure that we got all of our information correct, and that, you know, whenever I was tweeting out a story, that I tweeted it out accurately, but also tweeted it out in a way that would make people want to read the actual story. So Dr. Craig's ethics class taught me a lot as well. So I would recommend SPJ, and I know it's not a club, but Dr. Craig's ethics class was great. Yeah, my first like professional job was I think it was at the Enid News and Eagle in Enid, Oklahoma. Yeah, it was a great first experience, and I really enjoyed covering like a small town and getting used to kind of different meetings. Like there were a lot of I forgot what meetings they were, but they were really tiny meetings about like different zoning meetings, zoning commission and stuff like that. And that was like, I learned a lot of different jargon, and I learned a lot of ways to get police reports and court documents, things like that. And I worked with the police a lot, and it was a really good first experience. I got my camera as a Christmas present. I think it's a Canon Rebel. It's a little one. I think it was like $500, which is pretty expensive still. But a lot of cameras are like way more expensive than that. Like for like the Daily cameras, I really like lucked out being able to use those. Like they had these really, really nice ones, like 1DX and Mark IV, that are like thousands of dollars. And I was like you couldn't take a bad photo with those pretty much. Like it was like, it was crazy. And they had 70 to 200 lenses. Like it was awesome. But yeah, my camera was probably about $500, and I also use like a laptop and a phone. So I mean, altogether that's a couple. It's pretty expensive. Well, I have like a work computer, and they help us with phone. Like since you use your phone, like I probably make like 15 calls a day. So they help with that. I don't have my own camera from there, but I'm also like not a photographer. But I think the people who are actual photographers, I believe that they have their own cameras, but we also have options to like we have like a photo studio and stuff that like they sometimes upgrade and get new equipment for. So I think it's kind of a mix of both. Oh yeah, the Daily has its own. You can also like ask Gaylord. Gaylord, you can check out cameras at Gaylord. So it's all cool there. And like I think that they have like grant programs at Gaylord where you can like apply for funding for different things. Like if you're involved in something and you're going to like, I don't really know how to explain it, but like I'm sure that you can get funding, like you can apply for funding from Gaylord and they have equipment available for you to check out and things. Well, so the Tribune used to only print once a week, but now they print twice a week. We just started doing that. And I really enjoy it. I really like the transition because I think it allows us to focus less on like horse race coverage, where it's like you're trying to get to the print deadline and things like that, versus more contextual coverage. So like if something happens at like 4 p.m., you don't have to race until 5 p.m. to get all the details in it and stuff like that, because sometimes it's just not possible. And I like to be able to give, I think one of the things the Tribune does is that it gives as much context to our readers as we possibly can, and we try and give like an in-depth look at whatever's happening. So I think that the transition from print to technology kind of allows you to do more contextual reporting and more in-depth reporting versus like the fast pace. Like we're still fast, I think, but I think that it allows for more in-depth coverage, especially since like online, you can get that story up whenever. You don't have to wait for print, or you're not bound by print constraints, but also you don't have to like make those deadlines and things. Like you don't have to like make a hard print deadline, if that makes sense. Like you're not bound by the constraints of print, but that also means like you're not bound by like a 5 p.m. deadline. So if something comes in late, it's on you. News doesn't happen on a print schedule. It happens whenever it happens. So